So here in Job chapter 36, we're going to learn a little more of Elihu's perspective. And this is going to help us in understanding all these things that Elihu is telling Job. And what kind of underlying philosophy is Elihu using to evaluate Job with. So starting in verse 1, Elihu also proceeded and said, "Suffer me a little, and I will show thee that I have yet to speak on God's behalf. I will fetch my knowledge from afar. I will ascribe righteousness to my Maker." So he's like, I know what I'm talking about. God has taught me these things. I've studied these things. I've read the scriptures. I understand the handbooks. I know what I'm talking about. He says, "For truly my word shall not be false. He that is perfect in knowledge is with thee. Behold, God is mighty, and despiseth not any. He is mighty in strength and wisdom. He preserveth not the life of the wicked, but giveth right to the poor. He withdraweth not his eyes from the righteous, but with kings are they on the throne. Yea, he doth establish them forever, and they are exalted. And if they be bound in fetters, and be holden in cords of affliction, then he showeth them their work and their transgressions that they have exceeded. He openeth also their ear to discipline, and commandeth that they return from iniquity." So he's like, God, it's interesting, he says in here, he preserveth the life of the wicked, preserveth not the life of the wicked, but giveth right to the poor. So God helps people out. He brings the poor up. He exalts the poor, brings them up. He depresses the wicked and brings them down. So, which is somewhat true, but not completely true in mortality. You got to think the whole eternal perspective, and Elihu's kind of stuck in this mortality thing, which leads us to believe that Elihu still is thinking that whole gospel of prosperity type concept. We're going to see more of that as we go along. So it says down here, verse 11, "If they obey and serve him, they shall spend their days in prosperity and their years in pleasures. If they obey not, they shall perish by the sword, and they shall die without knowledge." So again, that's that idea of that gospel of prosperity. If they obey and serve him, they'll be prospered. If they don't obey him, they will be despised and pushed down. Verse 13, but the hypocrites in heart heap up wrath. They cry not when he bindeth them. They die in youth. Their life is among the unclean. He delivereth the poor in his affliction, and openeth their ears in oppression. Even so would he have removed thee out of the strait into a broad place, where there is no straightness, and that which should be set on thy table should be full of fatness. So he's saying that even so, God would have, if you are as good and righteous as you say you are, Job, God would have brought you to a place that is amazing, that's not limited down, a place of broadness, not a narrow place of wickedness, a broadness where there's more abundance and opportunities, basically. And he says here, verse 17, "But thou hast fulfilled the judgment of the wicked. Judgment and justice take hold on thee. Because there is wrath, beware lest he take thee away with his stroke. Then a great ransom cannot deliver thee." So he's still this concept similar to Job's friends, that this gospel of prosperity is how it is. God prospers the righteous and devalues the wicked, basically. And so you're being punished. Verse 19, "Will he esteem thy riches? No, not gold, nor all the forces of strength. Desire not the night when people are cut off in their place. Take heed, regard not iniquity, for this hast thou chosen rather than affliction. Behold, God exalteth by his power. Who teacheth like him? Who hath enjoined him his way, or who can say thou hast wrought iniquity? Remember that thou magnify his work which men behold. Every man may see it, man may behold it afar off." So he's saying you can't hide from God. You can't hide the works of God, basically, that are manifest. In fact, verse 26, "Behold, God is great, and we know him not. Neither can the number of his years be searched out. For he maketh small the drops of water, they pour down rain according to the vapor thereof, which the clouds do drop and distill upon man abundantly. Also can any understand the spreadings of the clouds, or the noise of his tabernacle? Behold, he spreadeth his light upon it, and covereth the bottom of the sea. For by them judgeth he the people, he giveth meat in abundance. With clouds he covereth the light, and commandeth it not to shine by the cloud that cometh betwixt. The noise thereof showeth concerning it the cattle also concerning the vapor. So God controls everything. He takes care of us. He gives us light. He gives us shade. He takes care of our needs. He helps us. He blesses the righteous, and he punishes the wicked. So Elihu is still he's been somewhat truthful in some of the things as far as like what is the truth he's talked about, but he still has a few false issues that are tied in there as well. And this is so common for the rest of us that we really think we know what we know, and we think it's the gospel truth. The problem is there's a good chance it's not totally true. Maybe there's a nugget of truth in it, but there's a falsehood that's gone with it that we still need to have measured out and dealt with. But the challenge is, in order for us to do that, we have to be willing to admit maybe we're wrong. Maybe our belief isn't completely true, and we need to be open to adjusting it. That's the hard part of learning truth. So a really good example of how this works out. This is a great conversation that they're having. So as we jump over into the next chapter, still continue with Elihu saying his message that he wanted to get it so adamantly across to Job. We'll see you in the next chapter.